Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to our hangover. We had a big SPNatI podcast, not birthday bash, but some kind of celebration. We had a big live cast AMA not too long ago. We answered like 83 questions, and we brought nmasp back as the old co-host, just to reminisce about old times and also talk about his latest persuasions, including Juno and Constance, and Masquerade, After Party, and all that good stuff. And then we celebrated episode 100, also known as episode 117. It was just full of just massive titties and crowd-pleasing characters like Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII, the Italian national icon. And what we're left with now is the odds and ends. We got some long-forgotten offline characters returning, some main roster additions, some testing roster characters, both of which have big titties. We're cleaning up a little bit after ourselves for these next two episodes. So strap in. These are probably going to be shorter, probably going to be a little simpler. I'm your main host, spnanon, now Super Saiyan 2, for reasons you will see soon enough. I am here with my regular co-host, Nord. nmasp did not replace him. I said Nord would stay. Say hi, Nord.
Hello, I'm Nord. Now I can no longer say that you've never seen nmasp and me at the same place at the same time. We are, in fact, different people. I think I still surpass him in terms of characters contributed to the game, but the way he's going, he's probably going to try and catch me up again if I'm not careful.
The episode before nmasp, we brought on an old guest, an old favorite, Arndress, who had not been on the podcast since about 3 years' time, 2021 or so. So I decided, hey, let's do that again. Let's bring back a guest who hasn't been on since, I believe, early 2021, but who has been contributing to the game this whole time, and also recently to a Masquerade character that we will talk about in 102. But we're glad to have him on regardless for both episodes. It is Coolcat, also known as Coolcat 001100, also known as a guy who used to make YouTube poops. So Coolcat, please reintroduce yourself and go over some of the characters you've made for this game, as well as the project we'll be talking about next time.
Hello, folks. Once again, it is I, Coolcat. Like spnanon said, it's been a long time since I was last here, about 3 years. Whole lot's changed in that time. Game's gotten all sorts of new developments, new characters. Kingdoms have risen and fell. The waves have crashed against many different tides. I got a new can of peas, so that's been a whole thing. And like spnanon said, I've done a bunch of stuff for this game. I've previously said that I made Jim Raynor from StarCraft, and in that time I've also made Samus from Metroid, Rushale from Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, Yumiko from Kakegurui, and just recently I have started work on a new character, that being Justice from Helltaker. And of course, there's the side channel SPNatI After Sunrise, just dedicated to shitposts and whatever comes to my mind that day. So it's nice to be here once again.
Can you post a picture of Justice? Oh, it's that girl.
Yeah.
Is that why she kind of looks like a cop? I thought you didn't like cops, but let's not get too political until next time.
I mean, she does have there is a side comic where she dresses as a cop, so...
Real quick, I want to lead off with the host Shilling corner, as usual. Usually for the odd-numbered episodes, it's turning out. I myself don't have too much to shill right now. I've kind of been taking care of wrapping up the feedback poll, the Strip Poker Night of the Inventory anonymous character feedback poll that runs every year. I've been wrapping that up. You can pretty much see the full results now. Well, by the time this goes up, I will have actually posted the full results spreadsheet and responded to all that critique and so forth. On the whole, it was pretty positive. But before we get too much into that, Nord, do you have anything to shill?
Nothing particularly big to shield this time. It's a lot of business as usual. We are coming up to the Halloween event at the time that we're recording this. It'll be interesting to see if we get some new costumes in. And of course, we'll be getting the ones back from the previous years, so that'll be fun. Halloween is always, I think, a time to like really go out there with whatever costume you want to give your character, because you can just like full on introduce supernatural elements if you wanted to, assuming they didn't have them already.
I am still hard at work at revamping those epilogues. That's definitely the big thing I took away from the feedback poll. I mean, it's something I knew already, unfortunately, but it's definitely my priority, and I'm getting all those art assets straight, and I'm almost at the point where I can at last import a lot of them into the character editor and start animating them, and I hope to get them to I mean, certainly won't be complete, but at least kind of something resembling the system that I'll be going forward with by the end of the year, and I can maybe submit that to the game and just replace the old ones and give everybody a taste of that. Just have like a sex scene or whatever, tide people over, because that's all the old ones were pretty much anyway.
So your feedback in 2022 was update the models. In 2023 it was great model updates. In 2024 it's update the epilogues. In 2025 will it be great epilogue updates?
I hope so. Even by this time next year, the full epilogues probably won't be finished. It's going to be a lot of work, but it'll. I think they'll be at a point where I'm just steadily iterating on them. Is what I plan to do instead of waiting like a year without any kind of update. Because I mean, that's not really how I roll anyway. You know that.
Seems like a smart plan.
Yeah, it's probably just better off that way.
I do plan to record a tutorial video probably this coming November to try and get people familiar with the actual epilogue editor. It's simpler to use than it might seem once you know what all of the buttons do, but because there isn't like a standard tutorial for it, it's quite intimidating. So hopefully that can be broken down a little bit, and people who handle their characters' art will be able to make epilogues fine as well.
Yeah, the challenge with epilogues isn't actually using the epilogue editor itself. It's really just making everything that's supposed to go in it.
Yeah.
Because unless you have the characters reusing their in-game sprites for like talking, it's a lot of very specific and bespoke assets you have to make, and then you have to factor in like, are you having it be like a point of view epilogue? In that case, you have to like carefully plan out all the scenes with that in mind.
There's just no like integrated tools to really like making all the art assets that you would need. A lot of custom angles and animatable parts, and nothing like that really exists. Like even like the disassembler, like that doesn't really work too well outside of a simple model.
When I was making the vibrators for Yumiko's female epilogue, I straight up drew each of them in paint.net.
From your own imagination?
No, I traced over images of them that my accomplice had found and recommended.
All right, well, I already spoke a bit about the feedback poll. It's now wrapped up completely. Thanks to everyone who responded. And again, the full results post will be up by the time this episode goes up. In fact, pretty much right after we record, I'm going to finish it up. On the whole, like less feedback than last time, but it was kind of run a little bit later in the year, later in the summer, maybe not as many people playing, or not as much attention drawn to the game. I mean, the game's numbers themselves are doing fine, so I think it's just kind of unlucky with the timing or who managed to find it. And I do think there's some changes that are in order. But I kind of talked about the feedback I got, mostly epilogue related stuff that I knew already, but I understand why people say it. Nord, is there anything that you noticed big about your feedback? You can pretty much see it all already.
Yeah, a lot of my feedback was quite positive. There's a couple of bits of feedback that are like fair criticism. There are others that are just like, didn't play the character, I don't play with testing characters, or ones where it's just fundamentally like, I respect your right to have the opinion, but no. Such as someone being like, break up Zeke and Pandoria, the girl can stay. But overall, I think it's just very positive. There was like a fair bit of apathy for a while from the developer community. Not really because like people don't like giving and receiving feedback, but because I feel like every character is like, in the main game at least, is at sort of like a level of quality where like it's hard to think of new stuff to say every time one of these polls is run, unless there's been a big change to a character. A lot of my characters that had big updates or were new to the game got feedback, as opposed to ones who have just, I put onto me in a while ago and haven't updated in a while.
Coolcat, anything you took away from the feedback poll results?
Really, it's just more of the same what Nord said. Like, of course you're going to see people who just say things like haven't played, don't care and whatnot, but the ones who like really give wholehearted and genuine compliments and talk about how much they appreciate the work you've done with a character, that genuinely means a lot to me. And it's easy to just say things like, oh, this means a lot to me, this is so special, but no, it really, really does, because as much as I preach the importance of taking on creative projects for yourself, seeing people who really wholeheartedly like your work and appreciate the nuances of what you do and just want to see more of it, it's really motivating and really reminds you of why you do it to begin with. And I got, seeing things like people talking about how well the dialogue comes together or how much they really loved Yumiko's epilogue, just brought a big old smile to my face.
I mean, I do this to see Maya's butt. I don't know why you do this.
Then I guess you never will.
One bit of feedback I do just want to shout out is the one for Dunban. That is just the word daddy written 15 times. I think that indicates a positive reaction to his epilogue for women.
Solitaire, if you could post the full results sheet, the link to that in the description, that'd be very helpful. Thank you. And in the subreddit post as well. And like I said before, not as many responses this year, but lots of additions to the roster. Just funny, all throughout the poll, and it ran for 2.5 months almost. I had to keep adding new testing roster characters, mostly masquerade characters to it. So they may have missed the initial wave of feedback, but it was just funny. The game itself was very active that whole time, even if responses weren't always. And as far as my feedback goes with the epilogue stuff, it's maybe if I updated the epilogue, I'd stop hearing about people bitching about how the old art was better, because it'd be out of sight and out of mind. Speaking of the criticism of the poll being too long, I do think that's something that's probably going to take effect next time. Is probably limiting it in some way. Like you said, a lot of your opinions haven't really changed because the characters themselves haven't changed, and there's a ton of them now, over 250 on the full list. So what I'll probably end up doing is having a main poll next year that's just maybe characters updated in the past year or 2 years or something like that. So someone that's probably a good candidate for adoption. And then there'd be a separate link there to all the others if you really want to talk about them. And that seemed to go over pretty well with people. Would you support that kind of change?
Yeah, I would.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, speaking of characters that weren't even on the poll in the first place, let alone some kind of separate legacy poll, Adora and She-Ra are characters who I want to say we're pretty much around the last time Coolcat was on, maybe a little bit later, but she's had from the adventures of She-Ra, or whatever cartoon she's from. This is a project all by the same person over and over, but she's had maybe 3 separate testing stints over the past 3 years or so. It's been a troubled project, but she has returned once more, gracing us with her big buff body, at least if you manually trigger it. I mean, that alone is something that has gone through multiple iterations, not just the model itself, but how you actually get her to transform into She-Ra. Right now, I believe you have to make the whole table the same gender, or except for her in the case of males. But I think that's how it works at the moment. But yeah, she's back for and hopefully the third time's the charm. We've definitely spoken about her before, and I've said the projects felt kind of muddled those past attempts, but I will let Coolcat give his opinions first. So yeah, she has returned to the testing roster, hoping to make it this time. What did you think of her, Coolcat?
Yeah, I think that the whole development history of Adora is really speaks well to the persistence of her developer, because I remember back when she first came on, and no nice way to put it. She was in a rough state. Like, it was very clear that the dialogue needed fixing, the art needed fixing in a lot of places, and people were not afraid to let it be known. We did our best to be gentle, but when she didn't come back for a while, I was kind of worried, just, oh shoot, is this something that's never going to happen? Is it never going to be finished? But no, her dev kept at it, kept going at it, and by the time that I'd forgotten about her, she came back, and she's been radically improved so much that it's a far, far cry from her original state. Like, the art is better, the dialogue is better, and feels more natural. This is a project I am genuinely optimistic about, not just since I've actually seen the show in more recent times, but also because, like, the mark of improvement here, I think, really speaks to the potential this developer has, and I'm excited to see both where Adora goes and what else they do. This is a really encouraging thing. Like, let this be a lesson of never truly write someone's project out, because there's always time to improve. And goddamn, like, Adora's great now.
So you've seen the show, so
Yes.
I'm sure you noticed when I referred to it as like the Adventures of She-Ra. I remember now it's what, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power.
Yes, I didn't want to be like the yelling Cosmo meme in the middle of you talking.
People have discussed making various other characters from the show, all the Princesses of Power, as well as Catra. That's a project that's been thrown around a lot and never got off the ground. But it's only fair to have Adora be the closest, or really the only one that's really come close to fruition. She's
a rare instance of the main character from someone being the first one in.
She's kind of like she's like a wannabe leader, right? Like she has trouble like actually leading. She's kind of an awkward dork, but she's doing her best to rally the troops.
Because her whole backstory is that she's been risen and trained in the Horde her entire life, which the Horde are the bad guys, and it's only just recently that she's seen that they've been lying to her and has switched sides. So she's trying to get accustomed not just to being the reincarnation of She-Ra, but also living a life outside of the Horde, living as someone that people are looking up to and looking to for guidance. So, yeah, it makes sense that she'd be very out of sorts and kind of dorky with it.
Thank you for explaining what the Horde was, because she mentioned that a lot, and I was like, that sounds kind of evil. Why is she part of the Horde?
I mean, a Horde isn't necessarily evil, like in Warcraft, so, yeah.
I thought it was evil in Warcraft.
No, Warcraft is a story where there are no good guys, just everyone being dicks.
Nord, what did you think of Adora?
Okay, so thank you, Coolcat, for providing a lot more context than I would have been able to, because I barely know about She-Ra.
Yeah.
So I played with the She-Ra version of her. The way the transformation gimmick works now is that depending on table setups, if it's all women or all men, including the player in both cases, in stage 4, she will turn into She-Ra and stay that way for the rest of the game. That's a great change from how it was before. I think the very first implementation was a bit scuffed in that she kept transforming, detransforming, retransforming every layer, and that made it a absolute headache to target at all. And it was a bit distracting that she kept doing this for the whole game. It being more of a permanent transformation works a lot better, and it means that, like, if you want to see one of the most well-built women in the game, you can get that pretty reliably now.
Yeah, it's good to make it manual, and it's something you opt into, right? Because it's like, oh, maybe you want a cute Adora, or maybe you want the buff girl, but it should be something you want.
Uh-huh. The L, I would like to shout out for the developer L for sticking with the development and coming back and trying to do better. I think L is always improving, which is very admirable to see. I've been doing a bit of banter with Adora / She-Ra, with Zeke and Pandoria in particular, because L is open to the idea of having specific character interactions that trigger the She-Ra transformation as well. The main thing dialogue wise is that I think he just needs to be careful about spelling and grammar now and again. If I had to be brutally honest, it's probably the weakest point, is that there's always like minor issues to be found. But I see you've got a picture of the original She-Ra.
This is probably like version 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's the oldest one I have.
So, in terms of the actual She-Ra model, the Adora model is great from what I can tell. No real criticisms there, aside from like posing nitpicks. For the actual She-Ra model, I do have some like hefty criticism, mainly because like the custom muscles in the arms and like the custom chest. Well, the custom muscles in the arms are good. The custom chest, I think, is a bit of a miss for me. And one detail that I doubt anyone else would fixate on is her collarbone. It's just the Kisake default collarbone that isn't. It's fine for like normal like body type characters, but for a very muscular character like her, you would expect her like neckline to be different. And I actually just randomly remembered that Rinka, a model that's like a couple of years out at this point, even that one has custom like necklines to show the like musculature she has there. And I think She-Ra could definitely benefit from a detail like that.
Or just a thicker and custom neck.
A thicker custom neck in general too, yeah. Like we have very few characters that are like really muscular. In fact, actually, I think Zeke would be a good example here. To use my own work as an example, he has a thicker neck because he has, you know, a much wider chest, just because of how muscular bodies are sort of done in this anime-esque style.
You know, you're a big Trunks fan, Nord. You could just like make like buff Trunks. He just like powers up for a whole stage.
Powers up for a whole stage, reduces his AI to the worst.
He changes cards really slowly.
As I think I already said, the custom chest, bit of a miss, could do with another pass on that. Sort of like her whole chest area looks very flat, ironically enough. The muscles. This is sort of a Kisake problem of like her muscle color doesn't look very good. There's no real way around that without making entirely custom muscles, and I don't think I would ask their developer to do that, but it would be worth considering if they're willing to put in the effort. Apart from that, I also noticed that she has like no pelvic lines, which are just a character standard at this point. Sorry, there's no way around it. This is true for She-Ra as well, I believe. Yeah, I just checked, it is. Apart from that, the only other thing is that her forfeit posing well, this is specific to She-Ra, her heavy stage forfeit posing felt like a bit of a miss. Like maybe like vary up her. I think her head doesn't move is one of the issues. So it's like for a couple of lines of dialogue, she just literally only alternates her facial expression.
She should alternate her ponytail.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, she can't because her sword is in the way. If her hair flips.
It's just like glued to her back, by the way. She has it on her back the entire game, even naked.
It's MMO logic.
Magic sword. But yeah, I think that's a fair amount of criticism, but I do want to emphasize that she is already a lot better, and I think her developer is willing to like go further to make her as best as she can be, which is honestly very admirable. So I wish L or EC as they're listed. I wish them only the best of luck, and if they need any help, they shouldn't be afraid to, you know, ask the community for assistance.
Yeah, I'll start with the art here. Like, they went all the way, and I hope this project goes all the way. But like, as far as like the She-Ra thing, right? I played only with Adora. I know you played with the She-Ra version. Again, thank you. Despite no coordination, it just worked out like that, like Constance. But I played with the pure Adora version, and Elle went all the way with She-Ra, which I think is definitely what you want to do. It's kind of like this version 2, for instance, it's sort of like maxed out default sliders in Kisake, where she's just like kind of buff. If you want the super tall buff Amazon girl, right? If someone wants that, they want you to go all the way with it, right? Especially now that you can opt into it. And the fact that she has just like a far broader chest and like bigger custom shoulder muscles and bigger hair even. Like that's what you want if you're going to do that. And then Adora is more slender and feminine looking in contrast. So like that works a lot better. She-Ra could use a little more hair volume on top. I remember I said that about Ayala as well recently. But overall, pretty positive. I know Adora at one point said, "Get ready for some muscles," and then she didn't have any arm muscles. You could put some muscle ribbons on her as well. I already mentioned the ponytail flipping. And I know she's a testing roster character right now, and you've improved her art enough. But maybe try to get some better stripping poses. She does the standard clothes disappear when she reaches for them thing, at least on a lot of them. So try to do draw some half off clothes in there. She I don't know if she had this before. I don't really remember, but that's an indictment enough. But like she does have some nice cartoony faces in there now. If I could find one in particular, this one. Like if you're going to do a Western animation character, right? Having these like really exaggerated expressions can go a long way in selling how she's kind of visually different from a lot of like the anime characters or the anime inspirations that are out there. So you might as well lean into that style, and some of these poses do a nice job. I think you should focus on that. Only other art thing I want to say is that when she takes off her jacket, I think this might be a classic case of designing the clothed model first, and then you get to the nude model and neck. She has very long neck, even as Adora. I don't think it needs to be any thicker, but maybe shrink it, slide out a few vertebrae. As for the writing, real quick, I mean, on the whole, I liked her a lot better than I remember liking her before. She had like a whole sequence about like losing her sword early on. I don't know if that always happens, but she seemed a little fixated on it, which was weird because it was glued to her back anyway. And she never gave it up. There's some funny stuff with her being an awkward dork, like sliding in some pretty nice and natural sounding lore. Stuff with the Horde. I didn't always know what she was talking about, but it felt natural enough for her to refer to. Or a funny She-Ra Shilling I wrote, where she's just like, "Hey, does anyone ever heard of She-Ra? I heard she's really cool." Like,
yeah, that was a good one and very in character.
So stuff like that. I'll agree she had some grammatical errors, comma trouble. I wrote down, and as well, like so, this is going to be a common criticism I have over these next two episodes as well. But filters on each strip I wrote. This is something that I think I want to include in the dialogue guide. It's a common mistake where people write a bunch of like filtered lines, but because they're so high priority, right? They just like start playing immediately as soon as the game starts, before she's even like introduced herself or anything. It's just like, "Oh my God, you have beautiful blue eyes," just on the hand line, talking about all these specific things about the other characters, and it's like, pace yourself a little bit. You got to find ways to limit how many or how often those play. So remember, treat filters like targets. Don't have them playing all the time. But I'll talk more about those in a future sections. On the whole, though, yeah, I was just really surprised. Like this project has struggled before, but right now I would say she's in a pretty decent place. Like she felt relatively cohesive. She had the awkward dork thing going on, and I think it was enough to like finally nail down how you wanted to approach She-Ra, and everything kind of fell out from that in terms of like making her not feel like a total mess of a project. It all comes down to that organization and that strip sequence in the end. It's pretty important. I would know. Anything else that either of you would like to say about Adora's return? Hopefully for the last time.
I hope she stays this time. I hope the project is seen through to the end.
Same here.
Even if we do have a lot to comment on, as long as her developer sticks with it, I think she can turn out really good.
Yeah, it's all about taking it in stride.
Yeah.
Well, we're not quite done with the art updates just yet. This one is more of a pure art update. I don't think there was a whole lot of dialogue or mechanical changes underneath, but we have apparently long-awaited, long-worked-on art update for Rin Tezuka of Katawa Shoujo, the armless girl, the armless painter. She paints with her feet. Another character who's been in the game for a long time. I want to say like 2018. I think she was the first Katawa Shoujo character. Maybe 2019. I want to say, I know she's old because Maya has lines to her and Sei. Back when she was still talking to Sei. They were still together. A relationship we'd like to forget. Yeah, she's been revamped and did not get quick passed. She is on the testing roster at the moment with a new look, a new face, I think some new proportions, maybe a smaller head, and a new default outfit. That was a striking change. She used to be you completely switched like which outfit was the default, and now she's in like painter's overalls instead of her school uniform, which is still there as an alt, but it used to be the main outfit. If only Rouge did that with the bat skin. But I digress. So, Coolcat, I'll let you start off. What did you think of Rin's art update?
It is a straight upgrade in just about every way. Rin's always been a good part of the roster, but as years have gone on, it's been clear that her art was made at an earlier point. So seeing her get an update, really, really good. Especially love that how she's got a whole new outfit, more befitting of her. Like, the school uniforms might be more iconic, with any character whose origin is a source where they're in school. But eventually it can become kind of distracting. Like, okay, are all of them really still holding such nostalgia for these days that they're still wearing it? I get it's the most iconic, but still. So having this where it's something more fitting is really cool, especially, because it comes directly from the source. So yeah, in just about every way, this is a big improvement. I think it's cool that her developer still cares about her enough to do this much work on her art all these years later. I am a fan.
You have the right to your opinion, and thank you for posting these 2019 and 2021 models. Excuse me, or apparently she's gone through art updates before.
Yeah,
you have a right to your opinion, but you may encounter some pushback.
I'm okay with that.
But I'll let Nora take the reins on that one.
So, she was actually the last Katawa Shoujo character added. Hanako seems to be our first one, added in 2018. Emi was added...
That's true.
Hanako's
pretty old as well.
Emi was added May 2019. Rin was added June 2019.
So they were about the same time.
Yeah. Rin seems to have had a minor update in 2021 to reduce her head size. Looked a bit better. I'll start with the good, which is having her casual outfit as the new default is a great idea. All the characters in Katawa Shoujo are obviously like over 18, so like them wearing the school uniform isn't too bad. But as was learned when Hanako got her art update, having the casual update just allows for a lot more like personality expression than all of them wearing the same stock uniform with different levels of like detail added to their wrinkles and stuff. You know what I mean? So Rin having her painter outfit is definitely a good call. The only questionable thing about it is that she has overalls that then are on top of regular trousers, or jeans as you would call them. That was the only thing that was weird about the outfit, and the Yamaku alt is quite good. It keeps that classic look. My main art criticism, which has already been shared in her channel by myself and others, are I think the eyes are a straight downgrade, and there's no real way around that. It's just that like it doesn't look like Rin's eyes anymore. I think one of the intentions was to make her face look a bit closer to Emmy, and that was, to put it bluntly, I think that was the wrong decision, because the whole thing of Katawa Shoujo characters is that they have distinct sprites and facial sprites in particular to stand out. Like Rin is supposed to have like big, almost vacant eyes that are a bit lax and unfocused. So her having these a lot, smaller, sharp and focused eyes sort of takes away a bit of her like daydreamer personality from her like visual expression. The other thing is that like she's almost too expressive, actually, on that note. Like even matching her dialogue, it feels like it goes a bit too far in points, but a lot of that can be boiled down to like her eyes have to move greater distance to get the same expression across, if that makes sense. So I think that might be what's contributing to it. Apart from that, the reason she didn't go through Quick Pass is that I believe Rotom deliberately wanted her to go back to testing so that she could get a more in-depth update rather than just being on the, going straight back to the main roster. So it'll be interesting to see if that gets addressed. There is a fear, sort of, where like it's been expressed in the community that there's like a bit of a fear that if an art update feels, sponsorship, then the character is just sort of left online now. I would hope to think that, well, for one, I would hope to think that that doesn't actually happen, but it would be a shame to like lose the art update if like that isn't addressed. I think it's just something that just needs like revised, and then it would be perfect, really. And it really does just boil down to the face and the expressions on some poses. Go ahead. I know I'm on a bit of a long one here. My only other critique is that I can't tell if the animations for her school uniform are a little unpolished or if they were like that before this update, because she obviously her moving item poses are that the player with their ghostly hands reaches out and helps her out. So some of the animations seem to end a bit abruptly or are a bit rough. So maybe those could look for a bit of refinement. This is for the uniform in particular, I mean. I'm not sure how it is with the main outfit.
So I confess to having not played Katawa Shoujo. I will. I think I actually have the game downloaded. I plan on doing it. SPNatI won me over. just not yet. But yeah, I gotta agree. Like just from looking at her and comparing the old look, like yeah, like I actually saw a bit of this old model, and this is actually a model that's been in the works for a while, at least a couple of years ago. It existed in some form, this newer model, and I saw it, and I think some of my feedback for that was basically, I think it was Corky, actually. He said, like, oh, yeah, I was trying to make her look more like Emmy. And that was my feedback. So, yeah, it looks like Emmy possessed her. Like, it's so weird to give this kind of feedback. But, yeah, like, she moves more, right? She has more expressive body language and a more expressive face. You can really tell what she's thinking, which is normally a compliment, but that's kind of the whole idea of Rin, is that she doesn't move around very much and you can't tell what she's thinking. So, we always say, don't have massive bug-like anime eyes, but that is kind of what she has in the source, and that's the point. You're not supposed to be able to get anything from just looking at her. She just like stares at you like she's high. So yeah, if you take that away, you just kind of missing something. I agree. Like for any other character, this would be a straight upgrade, but for a character like Rin, it just seems to run counter to what she's like. I mean, mechanically, when I played her, she didn't seem all that different. She still had a lot of like fun, entertaining shower thoughts, but it just didn't feel like Rin. It felt like Emmy in Rin's body. So yeah, I'd say fix the eyes and keep her stiff. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, it just seems to fit Rin better. The only other things I can say are regarding the stripping animations. Yeah, the player reaches out and helps her. I don't know if that was changed with Emmy, because like Emmy helps her when she's there. I didn't play her with Emmy. I don't know if that was updated for this model. As far as those animations go, I noticed my hands. They were so tiny. Those little ghostly gray hands that come out for the player, they're so small. They're about as small as Rin's hands.
You inherited the Trump genes.
That was a joke. That was my insensitive disability joke. SPNatI podcast host mocks disabled player.
Also, good news.
Yeah, make my hands bigger.
If you haven't played Katawa Shoujo and you don't feel like torrenting it, you can get it for free on Steam now.
Exactly. Got quite the move over to Steam recently. The whole Katawa Shoujo world has been a buzz.
Oh, she dialogue related. The only thing I noticed is she had sometimes she seemed a little more focused, mostly early on. I don't know if he's changing the dialogue, and I noticed a bit of an orange motif early on as well. She kept talking about oranges and peeling oranges. And it got me a little worried that someone was going to die because I had just seen The Godfather Part 2.
What?
You don't know that? Whenever there's an orange in The Godfather, someone dies shortly after.
I did not know that. No, that is a bit of film trivia that I had previously never been privy to. Kind of makes me want to rewatch both movies now.
I can explain it to you a little bit later, but maybe I don't need to go into that here.
Great.
She's a painter, not a photographer or a filmmaker. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, Rotom, her creator, has obviously he's in favor of this change, and but he wanted to hear more feedback, I guess, being on testing. So you kind of got to hear it both ways. Nord and I say change it, and Coolcat says it's pretty good. So ultimately, it's up to you. But
yeah, the good news is that much of the criticism seems to be around the eyes and the expressions, but that I think is something a lot easier to fix and change than all that was done to revamp her outfit.
Absolutely.
Her outfits are fantastic.
Yeah,
no criticisms there.
Yeah.
I like the outfits. I question because it is a lot of work maybe for older targets to change the outfit or which one's the main outfit, but the overall, it's a good outfit. I support representing stuff like that from the source material. Representing
absolutely.
The character.
But maybe the outfit, maybe the overalls could use a bit of improvement. Maybe if the shirt was changed to red underneath it, maybe if she got a red hat as well. Put an M on the hat too. I like that just for no reason. Maybe a big old mustache. Maybe that sounds really good. Give her a mushroom to eat.
For non-dope feedback, it is literally just like the default Kisuke paint splotch ribbons. So. Maybe add a little more detail there.
You'll only notice that if you've been burdened with having to use Kisuke.
But anyway, do either of you have any final thoughts on the project as is?
It'd be interesting to see where the dialogue updates go as well. I don't think she's been updated dialogue-wise. I don't think she's been updated since she returned to testing because it was pretty recent.
Rotom, if you ever want to write targets together, let me know. I like Rin.
I like her too. I like her shower thoughts. This is coming from a place of enjoyment.
Yeah.
I want that Rin deadpan emote to stay. So if you thought this hangover episode has obviously not been too riveting so far, rest assured we do actually have a brand new testing roster character to talk about. No old projects, no art updates, nothing like that. We've been reborn in another world, even with a a character who really did just come out of nowhere, kind of like Hugh's last project that he did, which was Meatma from Fire Emblem. I don't think that had any prelude or any announcement either. But this is Priscilla from ReZero. I have not seen ReZero. I don't know. I don't think anyone expected me to have seen it. Apparently, it's some kind of like, it might even be like a prototypical isekai, or at least one of the most popular. And I wrote in my notes, evil or bitch, because I wasn't quite sure, but she is definitely an Ojo-sama. And apparently she has like fire magic and a sword, a big fuck off sword that she pulls out at some point. So she can definitely kick your ass. She's not just laughing behind her fan the whole time, but she definitely seems of that archetype. So luckily, beforehand we were discussing this character, and Nord has, I believe, seen the show and can give a little more context for who she is.
I haven't.
Provide that?
A friend of mine has seen it. He just clarified for me that Priscilla is not a villain or like not an antagonist, but she's very much a haughty noblewoman who has had like 7 husbands who have all mysteriously passed away. So take that for what it's worth out of context.
And what is her relationship with the protagonist? Is he going to be number 8?
I think that's sort of the angle it goes for, or at least that's teased. It's going to be very difficult to talk to about a character we know nothing about the source of.
She's like next in line for the throne, apparently. I don't know if those 7 husbands are all an attempt to get the throne or what. She thinks very highly of herself, as you might imagine. So if none of us can explain any further, then we'll just let things shake out in real time. So Coolcat, what did you think of brand new character Priscilla von Gabrielle? Is that her name? I'll look that up.
Yeah, I mean, she really did just come right out of nowhere, because I know a decent amount about ReZero. I actually know a good bit about the characters just from word of mouth and seeing analysts I enjoy talk about it. I have never once heard of Priscilla. I did. If you had shown her to me just out of the blue, I would not have known what she was from.
Correction. Priscilla Bariel. That's her name.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I know the big characters from ReZero are like those 2 maids, right? The red and blue one?
Yeah, Rem and Ram. But yeah, like, I mean, it's easy to see why she sticks out in people's minds already. I think a lot of people just really want a rich noblewoman to step on them, and she fits into that really, really well. That's not what I go for. The Norwegian ancestor in me is telling me to raid her home and steal her valuables, but hey, if you're into that, who am I to judge? And her art is so good that it's easy to see why she hits that for people really, really well. That is the dress work is really, really freaking impressive. Holy shit. Someone made this in Kisake. I look at this and my mind gets boggled by that fact. So yeah, like for making, we joke in SPNatI about how we always make the characters people don't talk about, the ones people forget, and somehow they get really popular and really prominent. This is such a great epitomization of that, because I think even a lot of ReZero fans don't consciously think about her often, but what a way to come out of the gate with some amazing artwork, very strong writing, and immediately, sticking out because of all that.
Anything else you'd like to mention about like the play experience with her?
No, not really.
Well, Nord, take it away.
I mean, like I said, she's not really my type, so.
I'm starting to think that Hugh has a thing for women who hold something and
That's no excuse, Coolcat. I've talked about every single character that's ever been on the podcast, and they're not all my type, I can tell you that.
Well, that's all right then.
Starting to think Hugh has a thing for women who are holding something and point it passive-aggressively at you, the
That's
viewer.
exactly the pose I was looking for.
Definitely a surprise character drop. I remember the model was posted just a couple of months ago, and like everyone was wowed by how incredibly detailed the dress was. But Hugh really keeps his projects on the down low until he actually puts them in the game. I'll mention it again. I keep mentioning it. I was attacked. My life was threatened when the file sent to the mod team was labeled as Fiora_Xenoblade. But with Priscilla
That's
in
right.
the game,
I remember that now.
But Priscilla in the game, I can actually handle.
That's Dunlon's little
having,
sister, right?
Yes. With Priscilla in the game, I can actually handle it and not die of an aneurysm. So it doesn't need to be. Yes,
That was like your version of someone yelling, "Sir, the ICBM has just launched!"
So, Priscilla, I don't think it has to be said. Outfit is absolutely beautiful. Her undress model is also pretty good. The only critique I'd have is that her, like, cleavage lines probably shouldn't be there when she doesn't have the dress on. It just kind of looks like she has... It looks like she has dirt or something on her chest. Or like it's just a weird sort of like half-finished V shape that doesn't really... I think it's that the hard outlines and the color... Actually, no, it's just all of it. I don't think the lines really fit at all, to be honest. But that's like the only detail I can...
It's classic invisible bra, which is funny because she doesn't have a bra. She just takes off the dress wholesale, and there they pop out. If you're not sold on this character yet, because we can't describe her very well, she does have massive titties. Hopefully that helps.
Personality-wise, even though she only really has generics and not too many filters yet, her haughty rich girl personality definitely comes across. I feel like SPNatI is in a bit of a renaissance period in terms of people getting their fill of very haughty, better than you women. I'd be interested to see how she starts reacting to the stranger part of the game, like seeing not only must-target situations, but filterable situations. Like, how does she react to meeting monsters, ghosts, and like other types of adventurers that have powers? I think she has magic. Can you confirm that, Coolcat? Is she able to use magic of some kind?
I don't know.
She said something like burning a book to a crisp, which you can't just do with normal fire, but the way she said it kind of sounds like fire magic.
Lots of real haughty people have done it without magic.
Yeah, I think she needs to provide a little bit more of herself. Like, you got the Ojo-sama down in terms of like being really haughty and full of herself. Like that's pretty solid, but now it's kind of like what we said about Tifa. She's got to provide a little bit more context for who she actually is. You know, she talks about, like, you know, being in line for the throne, but like I don't even know how big is this throne? How big is Lugnica or whatever she's from? So yeah, a little bit more going on there. I was going to praise that custom hand and the fan forward pose. That's like essential to her being that fan. She never actually removes it. She has it like pretty much the entire time.
The fan secretly carries her soul.
Oh god, she's a Madoka.
No, it's her Horcrux.
But yeah, like even something as simple as like, is she evil or is she a bitch? Like that's something I should have been able to get at a little bit more clearly in the game, and I really didn't learn that at all. So you want to find ways to weave in the lore a little bit better. It was hard to gather if she even had magic or not. I don't know. She brought out the sword for one pose. What does she use that for? Does she use that? Is that just the crest of her family? I don't know. Is it just a museum piece? You have to tell me these things in some way. I mean, she certainly likes to talk about herself, so throw that out there. She mostly just called me a peasant and a commoner, but I need some context for that.
That is true. She does. She definitely has the aspect of this like character type of like putting down other characters, but with you see it with characters like Cagliostro and Sweetheart, where they also need to build themselves up and explain exactly why they're the greatest thing ever to ever exist. We need to learn more about them.
Maybe we're not worth that in her eyes, but she needs to give it regardless.
Yeah, I gotta say, if her writing is improved, then I would like to play her again and fully see more of her, because there is a lot that can be done with all that.
Like, I love Mitama. Mitama's one of my favorite characters of the past couple of years. So there's no doubt in my mind that Hugh can pull it off. And it's not like she isn't off to a good start. She is. Yeah. Other minor things about the writing. She did the same thing that Adora and later Wiz, I'll say, all the same criticism. They kind of with the filtered lines. She just kind of like spat out a lot of filtered lines early on at the start of the game, and then they were exhausted, and they need to be spread out a little bit more. Have a filter, you could say. Don't go all filter and then all hashtag no filter. Spread it out. Okay, know when to use your filter and your tagged lines. I believe that's it for writing. The rest is it was art related. Her art was quite good. It was just mostly nitpicks. Oh, one other thing about the writing is because she didn't talk about herself very much, she was often just talking about like the game and power plays and comparing herself to me. But some stuff that was hard to latch onto. But writing wise, yeah, she has the invisible bra thing going on, but like she does actually have a pretty good swishing pose. If someone else could look for that in the meantime while I'm talking. So yeah, nice like a boob manipulation. She's another character where her ponytail needs to flip with her head, just like Adora. It's just like ramrod straight the whole time, at like a 45-degree angle from her neck. So get on that, mirror that ponytail around.
Maybe she just uses some very strong starch in it. We don't know all the lore.
Well, that would ignite it when she uses her fire magic.
Good point. I guess she just shouldn't bring a book too close to her head.
Let's see. I mean, she's very appealing overall. I know she uses a chair for forfeit. That's something that's become pretty common.
Yes.
The chair itself looks quite nice, although if you could mix up the lighting, the saturation, or the coloration on the seat of the chair, because it's hard to distinguish where it is separated from the back of the chair. So she just kind of looks like she's sitting in a void. But like the foreshortening on her thighs, for instance, in that pose is very nice.
Yeah, that's
bunch of characters name chair forfeit. I guess.
Yeah, we now have a full table's worth of characters for Vayne and chair forfeit. I do like the leg posing in the sitting down poses. I think it helps that it also has like a very deep back to it, so it definitely looks like she can like be leaning back into it more. I just think there's maybe a bit of detail missing on like where the leg meets the hip, and I think, as you mentioned, the like back of the chair needs a shadow to it as well, so that it doesn't look like she's just kind of leaning against the cardboard cutout. Is what I sort of see it as.
Where is her butt pose? I'm looking for that. Not just to look at it. I actually have some criticism. Where is that?
I think it's only in like stage 4 or 5, and it's a stripping pose.
Ah, here it is. I actually think it's a bit too low. It's a pretty nice looking butt, but it's like part of her legs, and it's like moving with her legs. So like the cheeks get like really separated, but still touch, and it's not really how it works. They just kind of they're like the crowns on top of your legs. They don't really like separate that much as your legs do. It kind of stays put. So I think raise them cheeks a little bit. Get that ass in the air. Not literally. Believe that covers. Oh yeah. Last things I want to say are the finished stage. It looks very similar to the masturbation stage. She's kind of sitting in the chair, so maybe do something with that. If you want to really get creative, what if she like stood on the chair just for another power play, just to be taller than everybody else? That might be kind of funny. But I want to go back to that whole deal with her just pulling her dress off, and it's like, whoa, it's a pretty early reveal because her breasts are just out, pretty early on in the game, and that's surprising for like an Ojo Sama type character. But for her to stay so confident and to reveal it so early on is surprising and refreshing for that kind of character. So that was really neat to see her stand out in that way. So overall, yeah, like a very strong showing and some nice big titties. They've been spoiled for choice lately. If you're a boob man on testing, and that'll be reinforced even more in the coming episode. But is there anything that either of you would like to say about Priscilla? to end things off.
I think I've reported the backwards hands issue twice now, so I think Hugh gets the idea.
Oh yeah, her hands are backwards in that pose.
Not what you were focusing on, of course.
No.
I do love the expressiveness in her poses, definitely. I doubt, I think adding even one or two more normal emotion poses will explode her file size, because she's already at 9.5 megabytes with just her initial drop. But overall, no other complaints in the art department apart from what I've said, and dialogue-wise, it's still early days for her. She's literally this is us reviewing her initial drop onto testing, so I'm sure she'll get better.
Coolcat, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I too hope that her writing can be expanded on. We can learn a lot more about her and her world, so I can get really into the thought of burning down her kingdom. I've been playing a lot of Age of Mythology recently.
Isn't that always?
True.
All right, well, thanks everybody for listening to this glorious episode 101. 100 episodes in the bag and 100 more to come. And this is the first step of that new journey that we're undertaking. So thanks as always, Nord, my loyal co-host, and thanks for coming back after a long break, Coolcat. Happy to have you back on the podcast.
Happy to be here.
All right. Anything you'd like to sign off with, Nord? Have you played the Switch game Wonderful 101?
It was on Switch? I thought that was on Wii U.
Probably.
It was, then it was ported to Switch, like a lot of other Wii U games.
Is that the final?
That's all I know about it is that they share numbers with this episode.
Is that what we're ending the episode on? You suggesting I make the Wonderful 101 as a 101 in one character for SPNatI? Because I'll do it.
Yes.
Fun fact, Bayonetta and Jean they make cameo appearances in Wonderful 101 and are playable.
This is how we get Bayonetta into SPNatI.
Yeah!
And that's the episode.